make a video about Ushadow and a little bit on the what and the why. So Ushadow is several things. So first of all, it is a development platform in order for you to make your own AI assistant systems and easily add containers and configuration files and modify and hack. So really it's like developer platform. So there's a few components. So the first is the Ushadow launcher. So this has, if you're like a beginner, it has all of the prerequisites, and so it's like a one-click installer. So I personally work on multiple work trees at the same time when I'm developing software. And so I have all of these different environments. I call them different colors. So I've got red, purple, green, gold, and I've got a whole bunch of other different environments here that are all visible via this interface. So these all run a different copy of the Ushadow codebase. So if I go to my red one and I can open in Visual Code here, and here's my red team VS Code. It's all self-contained, and let's say I wanted to go to green. I open it and like he's up here. The color of the window gets determined by your environment name, and if it's not a color, it does a hash to get a unique color, so that way you don't get confused on what it is that you're doing. So we can see here the different containers and services that this environment has got. So we can also create a new environment of a work tree. In theory, we now have a yellow VS Code all ready to go, and in theory, if I go here and away we go. Let's have a little bit look at some of the folders in the ecosystem. So most of the code is in Ushadow, and you've got the back end, you've got the front end, you've got the launcher, you've got mobile, and the manager is like a deployment node that you can put on other Docker computers in order to deploy remotely. So we've got our compose folder and the config folder. So Ushadow is pretty much stateless, and so it follows a GitOps methodology where all the configuration is actually in YML files, which means that you can use Git in order to control your configuration of your environment as well as the code. And if you have a particular configuration, you can just like copy that, send it to a friend or share or whatever. So let's start in config. So you've got config defaults. So there's a bunch of different settings here, but some important ones are down here at the bottom where we've got the wizard and default services. And so by default, when you start up, the wizard, let's, I don't think I'm in a particularly good state here with the wizard, but if I go to quick start here, this basically looks at the default services that you have listed here, but it will essentially ask you for all of the required fields like API keys and whatever that you need in order to fulfill these services. You can put whatever services you want like in there, and the quick wizard will automatically look at what the default values are for these. So if we go into compose, and let's just look at open memory, for example. So is it like a standard compose file? We do have a header, which is an X Ushadow tag, which Docker doesn't read, but Ushadow does, which just gives us a bit of description in terms of what types of things it requires and what it provides. So here we can see it needs an LLM in order to operate, and it provides a memory. Now, if we look at how these variables are listed, depending on whether this is a blank, defaulted, or whether it's set like this or set like that, that changes depending on whether it is a required field. So API key is a required field and it doesn't have a default, which means it will show up in the quick wizard. All of the compose files that are in this folder become part of the compose registry. So if you want to add a new service, you drop in the compose there, and then it is found in Ushadow. So we go to services, add service. Oh, why is it going down there? And so here, these are all of the services that I have installed, or it detects that I've got like a parakeet instance like in here in the compose, which I've not installed. And I've also got the UI for open memory as well that I could add. So it's really easy to get your service in here by just dropping it into the compose. Then once you've got it here, so let's add like I don't think that's got many variables, but we'll add that here. So we've got the memory UI. And so depending on whether it fulfills the required fields or not, you can start it immediately. And so you look here, it's got two parameters here, Vite API URL and a URL. And so you can edit them and change them here. Or you can add more mbars here if you want. So if we go to Chronicle, for example, and so that's got a whole bunch of different required fields that are here that are already pre-filled. So how are they pre-filled? So we use megaconf settings. And so megaconf takes all of the YML files and it merges them into a unified settings store. And it does this in a particular order. And so user overrides, so config overrides is the highest, right? So it will use that. Then it falls back to the environment, right? So we've got an env here. And so that's what dictates that it should use the red database and any particular naming and ports. Then it goes to the compose file, and then finally the config defaults. So I've been working on this new templating system. With instances, I can create multiple instances based off the same provider. And so we have this concept of providers and capabilities. And so OpenAI is a provider which provides the LLM capability, which should actually be written on here. We should have a little tag saying LLM. And oh yeah, so it's up here, but ideally you need a tag there. So you've got LLMs, transcription, memory source, and you should have memories as well. And so here we've got our services which are running. So let's say so open memory needs an LLM, and so I can drag any of these that I've made in there, or I can drag the provider itself. And then let's say I want to change that to GPT-5. Oops, GPT-5. That overrides GPT-5. That overrides the provider to create a provider instance. And now that I've got that GPT-5 thing, which I can drag and drop. And so you can have a single provider source, so OpenAI, or Llama, or whatever, have all your models there, and then pick and choose which ones you want to connect to which services. And so I've got here like that. So let's say I want to go back. So that's using my Llama one, and Chronicle can use GPT-5. So that provides a really easy wiring diagram for the providers and capabilities. I do want to also get outputs from these services, so URLs, for instance, so it's easy to plug URLs into each other and connect the boxes together. Yeah. So here we've got Muon and Sol, which are two Windows machines. They're turned off at the moment, but you can move that. Yeah, it's off. So you can deploy containers remotely from the service registry onto any of these machines, which is pretty cool. And then you can do the same thing with Kubernetes. So if I do scan, because I want to find what's on there, so my infra namespace is called root. And so that's now found all of these core services on my Kubernetes node. So obviously I don't need to reinstall all of these because they're already there and I can share them with my environment. And then I want to deploy, and let's deploy, let's deploy Chronicle. And so that's detected the database. Like still in beta. This isn't working quite yet. So it detects the database from my infra on Kubernetes. And I should be able to map these, right? And so I already got the OpenAI key in the settings store. So I'm going to map that there. And then there's this deepgram, memory server URL, security auth key, right? And so you map these into what it is that you've already got configured, deploy, and then it all goes back and links back and forth. I have no idea where that's going to work. Apparently it did. Oh, I've only got one memory in here. These are some that I made earlier, right? And so you've got like your node based stuff there. And so it uses this for inference on the memory with relationships. I saw Kristen and Squid yesterday. Does it have the date? Should have the date. Not on this build. You also got a nice little report bug button here if you've got any problems. So we have the concept of an integration. So for instance, Obsidian Vault will be one of them. And so this enables, I don't know whether it's working. Yeah, so you can add a path to the source and a sync interval. And this is not plugged in on the UI yet. But if you go to adapters, providers, integrations, is it in here? And so you've got the data transform of what fields to lift out and what to map them onto. And so I want to then make this a flexible approach. So you could take Obsidian content and send it to speaker recognition, for instance, right? Or to Chronicle, or to a memory, or to whatever it is that you have, right? To NA10. And so be able to configure what information goes where. I think that's about it. Okay, so here we have the mobile. And so we can go into any of these U nodes, and so we can connect to different environments by scanning a QR code. I've only got one which is up at the moment, and that gets all of the URLs and authentication and stuff. So we can stream from the microphone, and we've got like nice little waveform there. Pretty cool. And then we can stream from the OMI, which should work. There we go. Little heartbeat there because you can't get the waveform. We also got conversations. You can click on a conversation and even load play the audio. Away we go. This is standard. And memories. I hope you find the framework useful. Be interested to see whether you can synchronize your own services and plugins and put them onto the framework. Ushadow.io.